Hello and welcome to another Uplifting Conversations. Hey, Justin.
Hello, Deanna. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Doing well. And how are all of you out there? Great.
Oh. We're going to assume that you said great because we hope that you are doing great. Today, we are going to be talking just about kind of what we're seeing out in the marketplace. What is a beautiful of our work. And I think just one of the things that brings me a lot of joy, we do get a chance to see from a bird's eye view, like what is happening across different geographies, what's happening across different sectors, what's happening just across different levels within organizations. And what are people dealing with? What are people thinking about? What are people challenged with? The opportunity. It's the reason why I say it's a real joy is because we get to see what's happening and kind of what are the trends,
Yeah.
and being able to bring those back to the podcast, I think is really important. So we wanted to spend this session just talking about what we're seeing.
Sounds
Justin, you want to
good.
kick us off with we've been observing?
Yeah. So, AI, artificial intelligence is a thing that's very much top of mind for people. And we talked a lot about this before, and we've had other uplifting conversations about it, but it's really front of mind for people because it's an existential change where not only do humans for the first time have to say, what do I have to do and how do I have to be now that there is this other learning thing that could maybe be smarter, faster, retain more knowledge than I can, but it's also very much front of mind for business leaders who maybe are steeped in tradition where their job they feel is I make the decisions, I provide the communication, I give the clarity, and I know the knowledge. Like, you go and do that better than AI. So there's a lot of anxiety where people come to us for everything from coaching to training about what does it mean to be a human leader in the time of AI. As how does that resonate with what you're experiencing, Deanna?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I can't turn any corners without somebody having a conversation about AI and what the implications are going to be and what that means for them and their roles or what it means for their team or what it means for their industry. I mean, we're talking about it at the minuscule level, but then also at the macro level, right? Like micro and macro level, and the impacts that it's having. And I think every day, we're talking about both possibilities, but then also the limitations of AI and kind of what's happening. I think one of the things that's most challenging about AI is that there's a lot of unknown. There's just a
Mhm.
lot that we don't know about what it brings and what it's bring.
And we've kind of found solace in that thinking about AI as an opportunity. And a lot of the leaders we work with, they kind of find greater assurance when they say, well, I've always been the decider. I've always been the knowledge retainer. I've always been this font of wisdom. And now, once they get over the threat of artificial intelligence being able to know more, learn more, communicate faster, strategize quicker, and retain more knowledge, kind of seeing as now I don't have to do that. Now I can focus on my teams. And for some, that's going to be a huge mind shift. But we, quite frankly, at Uplifting Impact feel like that's the shift that should happen anyways, is that you're concentrating on your people because the one thing the people leader who is a person will always be responsible for doing is inspiring, connecting, empathizing, understanding, coaching, nurturing. Um, all these things that maybe are often put on the back burner can maybe now be put to the front.
Absolutely. And so we make the you because we want to make it like our hashtag, right? Like hashtag human better. And that's really what we think this is the opportunity to do because the one thing AI will not be able to do is human better. And so, really thinking about like, what are all the characteristics that we get to do as humans? And how does AI provide us the freedom to be able to go deeper in those human characteristics. I think that is the opportunity here, and for us, because that's what we teach and that's where we find the greatest amount of joy. I think we are just seeing nothing but opportunity, as we think about what AI provides. This opportunity to go deeper, deeper, deeper in being even better humans.
So
Awesome. So that's one thing.
opportunity number two we see quite often, in addition to AI, is maybe some of the anxiety and uncertainty around large merging company cultures, mergers and acquisitions during a time of economic uncertainty. Lots of large orgs are not expecting to necessarily grow their revenue as they take a more conservative stance. But what they're doing in place is, oh, we're going to be merging or acquiring. And after people go through the merger and acquisition process, they maybe clear all the legal hurdles, they clear all the financial hurdles, but we also have to merge cultures. We're not just merging spreadsheets, P&Ls, and operations. We're merging all these company cultures and different ways of doing things. Where it's like, no, we don't do that here, or you haven't learned our way. So yeah, we have a lot of conversation about remembering your mergers and acquisitions are also mergers of company cultures.
And it's so interesting to me because it's like something that I feel like people talk about, when they're in the conversations about mergers and acquisitions, like M&A, like we got to think about the company culture and we want to make sure that we're preserving company culture and company culture this and this and that. And then it's like it happens. So that the M&A, process, we go through it, we show our tech, we do blah, 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 blah. And then we get onto the other side of it, and then none of the things that we talked about happen. And everybody is left kind of feeling very confused, and it takes a really long time to kind of get through the mushiness of that. And so the progress that could be made, or the benefits that we were hoping for, or just that, like, ability to take off and really be a stronger company gets it really gets slowed down because that company culture component doesn't get put to the forefront. Now, we don't see that all the time. I mean, we love it when organizations really do keep that conversation about culture like strong all the way through the process. But too often we see that not happening. And then that's when we get this emergency call, like, oh man, we forgot to talk about culture. Deanna, Justin, can you come in here and help us out? And so I think this is not a new thing necessarily.
Right.
It's just that we're seeing an increase in volume.
And it's
Because
an
as Justin, as you,
understandable thing too,
yeah,
because it's very easy to not know what our culture is until it has to merge with something it's not. And the biggest thing to think about is like a marriage. Weddings are some of
yes,
the
oh
most high
yes.
drama human events we have, because you're merging two families who have very distinct ways of doing things. And Deanna and I always joke, like, I thought the way I did things was universal. And then Deanna comes along, she's like, oh no, that's just your family. That's just the way that you, and the things that I didn't even notice. Like, of course, this is where forks always
Yeah.
go. And of course, this is how you fold laundry. And of course, like, no, that's just the way you've done it. And the thing with culture is we're never explicitly taught it, but we are very powerfully absorbing it all the time. So things like communication patterns, like, oh no, in virtual meetings, no one turns on their cameras here. I'm sure it's not in the employee handbook, but as soon as those two companies' cultures merge and there's people with their cameras on, and on top of that, while we're waiting for the leader to start the meeting, they're making small talk. Sacre bleu. Or I sent you an email at 8 p.m. and you didn't reply to me till 9:30 a.m. the next morning. Are you okay? Like, yeah, that's what we did over here. Oh, that's not what we're expecting over here. So I think it's a great opportunity for people to explicitly articulate, this is what our company culture does. This is how we do things. It's the standard operating procedure written out for all these micro behaviors of group activity that we always do, but we never knew we did.
Yeah. So that's one of those areas where it also kind of gives you that opportunity for reflection,
Yep.
because maybe there are things that you always did that you shouldn't be doing. And so it's an opportunity for growth. So we are definitely seeing a lot more activity in that space, a lot more conversation in that space. And I think just the around how we could do it better. So, what we're hoping for is that because we know this is happening, because we know people are thinking about this and trying to be more proactive, that these conversations actually do last through the whole process. And we are able to not have culture be like an afterthought, because we want these to be successful. And we do want people to be able to come through them feeling whole, because that's important. And that's important not just for the company, but it's really important for all of the that are at to see it grow. So that's the second one. I think another one that's a really, really big one. This will come as no surprise to anyone. But one of the big things that we're seeing is just a lot of this. I think some people might call it fear, right? Some people might call it confusion, but there's a lot of change happening. And
Yep.
so this like ambiguity feeling, I've heard a lot of different words for it. I think heaviness is maybe the umbrella word for it, but just this kind of feeling of like is happening.
Well, you mentioned it.
Do you have
Well,
a better word for it?
yeah. Well, you mentioned ambiguity, like unclear about what's going to
Mhm.
happen, but also instability, that things, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And then when things do happen, they tend to be severe and swift. So, I mean, the number one thing that business and organizations dislike is the unpredictability. So, I mean, think about it. If we're
Yeah.
making strategizing for a year or for 5 years or even for a quarter, we want to make reasonable predictions about what will happen. And in lots of our conversations with leaders, we've mentioned this is now more than ever the important time to reinforce the value of inspiring your teams, because you will not be able to provide the stability and certainty that people might crave. But what's interesting about human group psychology is, oh no, I don't want guarantees. I want guarantees that what we're doing is meaningful. I don't expect you to be able to
Yeah.
look into a crystal ball and predict the future. I want you to remind me why we're here. And if your organization or your own team, you have over relied on outcomes, that's going to be hard because you sold like, oh, we measure our purpose by our outcomes, which means when you cannot measure those outcomes or predict them, then all of a sudden my entire purpose is thrown out of whack. And there's importance to doing that and there's value to doing that. But now we also need to balance it out with, we are here even when we cannot predict what we will do, when we cannot make reasonable projections about our impact. This is who we are, not what we do. This is who we are. So inspiring with, these are our core values. This is how we treat each other. So we're not just focusing on externally, what are we going to be doing? What are our actions? What are our projections? It's reminding us who we are.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more because it is this like, how do we make sure that we are thinking about that meaningfulness, that purpose, that need for making sure that people understand why they're coming in every day, why they're, using their talents in our organization and creating that connection to meaning. I've been reading article after article after article need, especially in these moments where there is so much uncertainty and kind of like lack of stability and lack of, just all the things. Needing to have that tether of purpose and meaning is incredibly so. Uh, yeah, so that's kind of the third thing, this like steady incline in the purpose. Okay, so want to make sure that we keep going, and I think this next one really ties to that because we're also seeing some trends in employee engagement. What are we seeing in employee engagement?
Um, Unprecedented low numbers. And part of it is as I enter into the larger global sphere, when you feel I can't predict how my team will perform means I can't promise how I will perform. I'm not even sure if I'll have a job, if AI or global economic pressures are going to change things. That uncertainty translates to disengagement, where I kind of give up and I'm wondering, what will I even do? What's the point of this? And what's fascinating is people will feel demoralized by what is emphasized, and they will feel encouraged based again on what's emphasized. So if I only recognize you as a cog in the machine, a widget in the mechanism that is like a robot worker that I value based only on outcome, and I'm not concerned about your workplace satisfaction, how much you feel you understand what the team is doing. If I don't value those things, then you're going to get so confused and you're going to get frustrated and feel more disengaged. But at this time, the leaders who are kind of weathering the storm and actually seeing increased um, productivity, increased mission alignment, increased achievement towards KPIs are those who are actually taking time away from them to focus on, let me focus on the culture of my team. Let me focus on encouraging engagement. Let me pour into the people that I have so that they feel built up.
Yeah. And in one sector, just in one, kind of like strata in the company organization. It's not, just amongst like direct support. It's not just amongst your executives. It's not just amongst your, kind of mid-level team. It's across the board. We're seeing this real challenge in that employee engagement sector. And I'm trying to understand that and unpack something that everybody's dealing with. And so paying attention to that though is such a key component, because I don't care where you are in your organization, if you can understand how and you prioritize how bring your employees along in the process, and you prioritize them, you're going to have a stronger, better business, because your people are the heart of what you do. I love the quote, like, it's not just what you do, it's how you do it, but it's also who's doing it. Right. And what they're bringing to the table too. So that engagement thing is something, again, we're tracking really closely. And we're seeing that trend across all the work that we do.
And it's fascinating
All
how
right.
little it takes to make that engagement happen. People are often weary of it, one, because maybe they don't have a lot of experience with it, or they have insecurities about it, or they imagine that it's going to take way more than it actually does. But even if it's just small check-ins with people to help them articulate their purpose, to help them activate their purpose, to help them brainstorm about what their particular goals are going to be for that week, for 5 minutes. It's these small things that actually show a marked increase in engagement, which leads to all these other KPIs. Again, in this time, in this place, in this climate, if I promise these are the things that we will achieve as a team that are contingent on all these external factors that I can't control, that's going to be hard, as opposed to, I will meet with all my team members for even 5 minutes a week to talk about nothing but their personal and professional development and their purpose and how to activate it. That's what I can influence. That's what will provide engagement. And that's what will provide a sense of inspiration during this time of fear and AI and global uncertainty and mergers and acquisitions as well.
Right. Just creating those connections and that connectivity.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of connectivity that we actually talk about in the Bridging Leader. That is the new book that Justin and I have been working so hard on. And actually, it's because of all of these trends that we're seeing and things that are bubbling right to the top, like just constantly being in these conversations, that really motivated us to write the book. I think when we think about what we're going to do and where we're going to spend our time, so much of that is driven by where we think we can be of the greatest service. Like, what would really impact the most people? And so it's driven by what our clients are going through. It's driven by where we see the greatest need. And these are the things that we're covering in the book. We're really trying to make sure that everything that you see in the book is practical, that everything you see in the book, like I said, are not like these things that are going to cost you $1 gazillion million.
Yeah. They are how to
I'm
change
I
the
make up.
world, your team, and yourself for 3 seconds at a time. That's mostly what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. They're things that we know and we have seen, and the research shows that if you implement them and you're consistent and you are intentional about them, you can actually get at these things that seem so big and so overwhelming, and you can make them tangible, and you can make them small, and you can make them achievable, and you can actually make an impact so that these things that are so big and overwhelming can be influenced and can be influenced positively. Yeah. So that's why we wrote the book. I mean, that's what we're going to be covering. And so that's why we hope that you will consider thinking about picking it up, not just for yourself, but also for your team. Other things that are on your mind, other trends that you're seeing that we didn't just cover. Of course, we know we weren't covering everything, but those are the big ones, at least, that are coming on our plate. We know there's always a lot of things that people are thinking about. Feel free to go ahead and reach out to us and let us still in the editing process of the book. So happy to there's something that we can include, or some other thoughts that you have. We always are open to hearing that. And if you just have some other questions about some of the things that we talked about today, or if you want a little sneak peek into some of the strategies that we're addressing in the book, and you just can't wait till September 18th, that's okay too. Just let us know, because we are using the podcast to give some previews into the work and into some of the strategies. Our goal here is to serve, and to make sure that people are able to utilize the tools that we have. That's really, at the end of the day, the most important thing to us. So I hope that you were able to gain some perspective. I hope that if you heard this, you're like, oh, okay, thank goodness.
Not alone.
We're not the only we're not alone. Yeah, we're not alone. Hopefully you're getting more excited about the Bridging Leader, and you're just going to pick up some copies for yourself and for the rest of your teams. And hopefully you'll also continue to join us here on the Uplifting Impact podcast. Thank you so much for joining another uplifting conversation. We hope that you to join us and that you'll have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.